Hello, I'm Steve Purewal, the curator of Duty, Honor and Izzat, a commemorative exhibit that details the contributions of the Indian Army in the First World War. Since my teenage years, I've had a keen interest in Punjabi history, and over the years I've collected many interesting artifacts relating to our military achievements. Amongst my collection, I have many medals relating to Punjabi campaigns during the Victorian era, and the gallantry during these campaigns was covered comprehensively in the newspapers of the time. In Canada, despite its British imperial heritage, this history has been lost. One such story is the context of the Komagata Maru. This was a very sad moment in Canada's history. A number of people were turned away from Canada's shores, and if Canadians at the time knew the complete story of these passengers, this sad story may have never occurred. If we were aware of their history and their heritage, many of them were veterans of the British Indian Army. So this particularly sad episode is an example where misinformation and to some extent hypocrisy has marred relations between cultural groups in Canada. The facts of the matter were that while one boat was asked to leave the shores of Canada, there was another boat making a journey from India to France to fight in the fields of Flanders. In Canada, despite its British imperial heritage, this history has been lost. The issue of inclusion came to a head one day in my household when my daughter brought home a book from school which was about the poem In Flanders Fields. To my shock, this book failed to mention the contributions of the Indians in World War I, who had actually fielded more men than Australia and Canada put together. This glaring omission from the history books is hugely damaging to the positioning of South Asians in the mainstream. Of the hundreds of communities now living in Canada, only the Punjabis can state that they were there with Canada in the fields of Flanders, fighting as brothers in arms. In fact, very few communities can say that they've sacrificed so much for the Crown, an institution that is central to our parliamentary systems and all the rights and freedoms we enjoy in Canada. I have curated many of the artifacts in my collection into an exhibit that I've produced with Simon Fraser University, which has been featured in nearly 20 events across British Columbia. We have shown this in universities, classrooms, in schools, libraries, and museums and other public spaces throughout the province. The Indian Army won over 9,000 gallantry awards and shaped the history of the modern world. And in this story, you'll find an amazingly inspirational story of sacrifice, courage, that we can share with everyone. This will help us as a community to overcome barriers to inclusiveness and equality, because when colour, religion, language and clothes serve to divide us, a shared history of a great joint endeavour can bring us together as Canadians.